Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dare Me to Prosper. This is episode 19. My name is Avery, and I am your host. And today we're talking about spiritual awakenings. What is a spiritual awakening? What do people mean when they say that? It's a very trendy phrase the last 5 years or so especially. And so we're going to dig into what that actually means. If you are somebody that is new on your spiritual journey, your spiritual walk, and you really want some more clarity around this, that's what we're going to talk about. The signs, the different stages of walking through an awakening, and why it changes everything. So, welcome. Before we get started, I just want to say if you have not yet left a review of the podcast, if you're enjoying it, I would be so honored if you would leave a review. It makes a big difference. It tells the platform that the podcast is worth listening to. So if you're enjoying it, it would mean so much to me if you left a review. So thank you in advance. Anastasia, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anastasia, recently left a review, and so I just wanted to give a shout out and personally say thank you so much. I am so grateful. And another quick announcement before we get started. Recently, I was approached and asked if I offered one-on-one channeling services. I've discussed on the podcast before how, my different spiritual gifts and how I felt like something that I've been working on developing over the last 5 years or so has been basically my communication, my line of communication with spirit, with my guides. I feel like for me personally, my biggest strength is claircognizance, like a clear knowing, or sometimes I will hear like a very clear message in my head that's not my thoughts, not my voice, not audibly, but in my mind. And so I've been continuing to really try to strengthen that over the last few years. However, it was not something that I ever had the intention of like doing as a service or bringing to other people. I just kind of felt like, oh, there's lots of people who are much stronger in that gift than I am. They've been doing it since they were children. That's not really my thing. However, so that person, asked that, and I said, oh, I'm not super comfortable yet, but here's some recommendations for other people. I don't know that I'm ready yet to give that as a service, and I'm not sure that I feel quite confident. After I said that, I was later communicating with spirit and with my guides, and it was very clear to me, I was told I needed to revisit that and to revisit that idea and to actually consider offering some one-on-one channeling services. Now, I'm not going to say service, like I'm not ready to charge for that right now. However, I listened and I've been tuning into that. I've been communicating with spirit more about that, and I'm just going to open the door. I feel like it might be time just to open the door and just to see, because part of something that we talk about on the podcast a lot is part of your spiritual journey is developing your spiritual gifts and becoming stronger, more connected to spirit, more connected to your higher self, to your soul. And as we do that and as we awaken, these gifts become stronger. And I did a whole episode about that. Go back and listen to it if you haven't. But also a big part of that is how our gifts usually are always in service to the collective. Like whatever your purpose is, whatever you are here to do is going to be in some way, shape, or form a service to others, because that is how spirit works, right? Service to others is a very important part of why we're here. That being said, this is my thought process is, I always share my email, daremetoprosper@gmail.com. What I want to do right now is free of charge. I want to start just connecting with people and start trying to test out this gift with others. I've done this with people that are close to me in my life, but it's almost like cheating because you know so much about them and you're just a lot closer to them. Free of charge, I want to put it out there that if you are somebody that's maybe newer in your gifts or you're interested in this, you have questions about your life, about whatever it is, you just want a channeled message from spirit or from your guides, you can email me at daremetoprosper@gmail.com with some questions, 2 or 3 questions about whatever it is. Give me your name and maybe a little bit about your situation or what's going on with you. What I'm going to do is to meditate, to tune in, to channel spirit and see what I get. And I will email you back with that message. And what I want to do during this period is really just see, does it resonate? And get feedback from you guys to say, does it resonate? Is this something that you feel like hit with you? Or, if it's way off, okay, great. Give me that feedback. It was also made clear to me that part of my gifts in particular, it's very much about pointing people in the direction of where they should be guided to. So part of my communication will be, Spirit is saying, this is what would really help you right now. This is where, you need to be headed, or where, your soul is trying to get to. This is what's holding you back. These are the obstacles, things like that. That is very much, that's what this podcast is. Again, that's like a very big calling to me. So a lot of the messages are going to be, that's really my wheelhouse, so to speak. Anyway, we need to move on to the podcast, but I just want to say, if you're interested in that, feel free to email me your name, your situation, a few questions, and we'll go from there. And in return, all I ask is that you would leave a review on the podcast and then give me feedback about whether or not what I have said is in line or that resonates with you, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm excited to hear from you guys regarding that. But spiritual awakening, if you are here, you have likely either gone through what you would consider a spiritual awakening, or maybe are going through, or maybe you're on the cusp of going through. And this is just all you're kind of researching or just trying to learn about what people are talking about. What is a spiritual awakening? It's been somewhat of a buzzword over the last 5 years or so, especially since 2020. But what does it mean? Because I think different people do almost mean different things when they say it. So maybe we're not all even meaning the same thing when we use the term spiritual awakening, because some people, like the term woke is also kind of a political term right now, and that's not the same thing. That's a different context, a different reference. A spiritual awakening is a little bit different. A spiritual awakening is much bigger, it's much more impactful, and sometimes I do feel like the term spiritual awakening becomes overly popular, or anytime a term becomes overly popular or even trendy online, it kind of starts to lose its meaning and get muddled beneath all the chaos of everyone just trying to grab onto this trendy word. So let's get to the heart of it. Essentially, a spiritual awakening is simply a shift in your consciousness or your perspective, where you begin to see beyond the material world and into deeper truths about yourself, about your life, and about the nature of reality. You are awakening to the spiritual realm, the spiritual world, and all that that encompasses. Having a spiritual awakening is very much a process. It's not like where in Christianity or something, it's like you ask Jesus into your heart and then one day you're saved and like that's your thing. Like, this is not like that. A spiritual awakening is a process it's very personal, it's very developmental. Like, you are slowly uncovering and learning and growing and evolving. It's a process. It is often, though, triggered, I will say, by some sort of event. Oftentimes, a spiritual awakening does have kind of a beginning, like a switch that flips and you go, wait a minute, all of a sudden I have questions. I feel called to look into this or follow this guidance or whatever. Like 2020, COVID, that was such a big awakening moment for so many people, because in all different sorts of ways it impacted us, right? We had a lot of fear in the collective. We were home. We had all this time. It just, for lots of different reasons, whatever that reason was for you, people changed. There was a trigger in our environment that changed the way we did life. And in turn, it caused so many of us to shift perspectives, to ask new questions, to do things differently. So that was a big collective one. But anything like a big loss, an illness, a heartbreak, maybe a major life change, a change of career, a move, a birth, some sort of shift in your life often starts you down this snowball of asking questions and shifting perspectives and wondering and following guidance and all that sort of things that leads you to the other side, where all of a sudden your whole life has changed. It could be a quicker transformation where over a few months you just totally evolve, everything about your life. Or it could be a very gradual series of small inner shifts over years and years and years. There is no one size fits all experience, and it doesn't have to look any sort of way. It could be very subtle. It could be very dramatic. It could be really quick. It could be really slow. Again, for so many people who started their spiritual awakening in 2020, it's like we're 5 years down the road and we're still just really in the thick of it, still really in the middle of some deep evolving and growing, because things take time. And oftentimes we're learning all of these lessons and things that really challenge us, and it takes time to move through that sort of thing. And again, during 2020, that time collectively caused a quote unquote waking up, where all collectively we were all transmuting a lot of fear and a lot of grief together. And so together, as time went on and we weren't so afraid and we weren't grieving so much because of how impactful and scary that time was for so many people, we collectively raised the vibration by transmuting all of that together. So I don't know if you've heard of how Earth itself is raising in frequency. The whole planet, both the actual planet and the people on the planet, are raising their frequency together. As Earth raises in frequency, the people must raise in frequency in order to sustain being here, being a match to Earth. And it's not such a quick process where it's like Earth jumps from this vibration to this insane vibration and everybody just disappears because your reality doesn't exist because you can't match it. It's not that quick. It's a very subtle, slow changing and evolving, where all of us are collectively changing as the Earth changes. Does that make sense? It's like a radio station. I've talked about this before, but the Earth is changing her radio station. And the more we adjust to be in tune with her radio station, the better and more aligned we will feel. But if we're stuck in our ways, we don't want to change, we don't want to do the work, we don't want to evolve, we're not changing our radio station, we are moving in resistance to the Earth, and we're going to feel unaligned. Things are going to feel harder. It's going to feel like more of an uphill battle because we are not tuned in to the Earth's frequency anymore. And that process is getting quicker. As the years go by, as we move forward now, it's going to continue to speed up. And so, like I said, during 2020, we transmuted all of this energy together, which helped us all kind of, again, evolve to the next level, the next frequency. We're all moving up together. Not everyone, of course. There's still people who don't want to change, who are not doing the work, who are not great people, who live in a very low vibration. That is their personal choice. But their life on Earth is only going to become more and more difficult, feel more and more unaligned. And at some point, if they are so unaligned, they may choose to take an exit point, to leave on a soul level, not like purposefully dying. But, their soul may choose to check out. They have decided not to evolve in this lifetime with where the Earth is headed. Or maybe they won't, but again, your experience on Earth while the frequency is raising is going to come down to how aligned you are with that raising vibration. So why is this awakening happening so swiftly right now? Why is it happening so fast? This is a very sacred time to be on Earth, to be on the planet. If you are on the planet right now, you won the lottery. Your soul won the lottery, not because your life is easy, because life on Earth is not easy, but because you essentially got a VIP ticket to the greatest show in the universe, right? Earth is a school planet. It is a learning, dense planet. It's difficult, but we come in to this difficult planet because we do so much growing and so much learning here. So your soul choosing to come to Earth said, I want to take a hard class. I really want to evolve. I want to do some hard work. I want to get really good at something. I'm going to go to Earth because that's a boot camp essentially. So we are living in a time of crazy change right now on the planet. We are evolving and moving quicker than Earth ever has in the past, at least for millions of years. So think about our lifetime. Depending on how old you are, you have probably seen so much change, more than your parents ever saw, more than your grandparents ever saw. You have seen more things evolve in this lifetime. Cultures, technology especially, governments, the way that governments are changing, the political environment is changing so fast. Schools, medical systems, relationships, disclosure, ETs, aliens, new discoveries, right? Scientific advancements. You are getting to experience more change and exposure in this one lifetime than almost any of your ancestors before you ever did. Our consciousness on planet Earth has been like a snowball collectively, all the people. The faster we go and the further downhill we get, the larger collectively this awakening energy becomes and the more change takes place. Does that make sense? So we're starting to shift more quickly. as we collectively shift, as the planet shifts, it's like this snowball is really starting to speed up. And over our lifetime, it's already gotten faster. The frequency is raising. The advancements are moving forward at lightning speed. Things are just changing so fast because it's almost like the whole planet is shifting, transforming into almost a whole new planet. It's going to be so different, in 10, 20, 30 years from now than it is right now. And we get to be here and witness it. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be a little messy, a little chaotic, maybe a little dangerous? Yes, I believe it will be. But we're learning and we're evolving, and that is why we came. But the collective shift is kind of like a chicken or the egg, where the collective energy is causing change, and then the changes are prompting our collective energy to shift. It's kind of like it goes back and forth. The more we shift, the more energy changes, and these old systems and beliefs are no longer aligned to the new frequency. Again, like a radio station. So the more these old systems start to collapse as the energy shifts, the more they crumble, then the more humanity wakes up because we're questioning the old systems. We're standing in our power. We're seeking empowerment. We're seeking transformation. We're saying, we don't like the way the government is acting right now. Let's change it. We don't like the way that this is going right now. We're going to change it. We're going to stand up. We're going to protest, whatever it is. It's a bit volatile right now, but it's because necessary changes are taking place. And the higher that frequency or vibration on the planet gets, the more it will unlock different quote unquote levels of our consciousness, right? So we're evolving, we're going higher in vibration, higher in frequency. We're unlocking almost like new DNA. We're getting to that next level. So you may notice that you've become more sensitive over the last few years, or maybe more psychic. Maybe your interests and beliefs have changed. Again, that's part of the awakening. It's also just part of your frequency rising. That's your physical vessel naturally aligning itself to the higher frequency. The more aligned to the higher frequency you become, the closer to spirit, the closer to God you become. I mean, this is the reason, like, think back to Jesus. He could do all these miracles, right? He walked on water. He healed people. Jesus was highly, highly vibrational, especially for when he was on the planet. He was very close to God, very close to spirit. He was in this extremely high frequency of love and of peace, right? And so because of that, he had these abilities. He was so tuned in. He was so tapped in. He was so in line with spirit, with God, that he had access to this energy, these abilities that you and I are not tapping into because we are not at that level, but we are all collectively rising slowly. Now, you have the free will to not change again and to not rise with this frequency, but again, it will be it will be an uphill battle, like a fuzzy radio station, right? It's all fuzzy. You can't hear it. You're confused. You're lost. You're directionless. And we all have moments of that. But if you are permanently, digging your heels in, I don't want to change. I don't want to learn my life lessons. Your life will be harder because you are going off track. You are unaligned from where your soul is trying to guide you. There's also an element where more focused souls are kind of coming onto the planet right now. So again, we're answering the question, like, why is this happening? Why is the earth changing so quickly? What's going on? There are more focused souls incarnating right now. So for so long, people were incarnating, souls were incarnating onto earth with primarily the just understanding that it's a difficult planet. We're going to learn, we're going to evolve, we're going to do whatever earth is doing. Now, in this time, it's a bit more than that. Not only are we going to learn our own personal lessons and evolve our souls personally with the people around us, also, we are helping Earth raise her frequency. Again, it's this give and take, the chicken and the egg. It's a back and forth loop, a cycle of the frequency because we affect the frequency of Earth, like we living on planet Earth, who has a consciousness, very much the earth is like this alive being with its own frequency. While we live on the planet, we are so connected to this planet, we affect the energy of earth and earth affects our energy as well. It is a relationship. It is a give and take. I feel like I am there's so much in this episode that could be its own tangent. So I know this feels like a lot, but I'm really just trying to kind of encapsulate this idea all together. And there's so much in this idea, so bear with me. But essentially, tens of hundreds of years ago, souls were mostly coming to Earth for the experience and the life lessons on Earth. Now the souls are coming in, doing that, and with the special focus of serving others and continuing to raise the frequency of the planet. So generations like especially millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and then Gen Beta, who will follow Gen Alpha. It's not that there's no awakened boomers or Gen Xers, but these newer generations that are coming in are basically souls who are more capable of coming in with the confidence that I'm going to wake up in this lifetime. I'm going to remember who I am. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to help the collective. It's not just about my soul learning lessons. I am awake enough, my frequency, my vibration is high enough that I know when I get to Earth, I have the capability to wake up and to help the collective. I'm not going to get lost or bogged down with depression or drugs or, stuck in the earth where I just lose sight of everything and I get lost in the chaos of Earth. Basically, the souls coming in now are more prepared to handle what we're doing and where we're going. And so these later generations are going to see more and more people who are spiritually adept and awake. That's why we see these numbers of people having this type of spiritual awakening. And it looks different for everybody. So some people might not even call it a spiritual awakening. Some people might not even relate to that at all. Maybe they go to church, maybe they just started praying. It's not about what you call it or what you label it as. It's about your frequency and how aligned you are with the frequency of the planet, with your soul's path. Okay, so you don't have to label it a spiritual awakening or have any certain particular beliefs to do that. It's more about the energy and what the energy represents. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the signs. Like, what are the signs that you're going through an awakening? So one is feeling disillusioned with your old life or your old identity. Feeling like what used to work doesn't work anymore. What used to make you happy doesn't make you happy now. What you used to believe, now you got questions. That is the beginning of an awakening. My spiritual awakening, I covered this in my episode on deconstructing Christianity that I did with my sister. But the entire time where I considered myself to be a Christian, I always had doubts. Even when I was really dedicated, I was fully bought in, there was always in the back of my mind these questions that I couldn't get answered. I couldn't figure them out. I never got an answer from anybody else that felt like it really answered what I was wanting to know about all these various things. And in the back of my mind, I just never felt fully committed in the way that I thought I was supposed to be, or the way I felt like other people were committed. I felt like I'm doing it. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't really resonate with it. There was always something off, but I just kind of pushed it aside because I was like, oh, it's normal to have doubts and whatever. Now, obviously, I know why that was. But the point is, in 2020, when I started going, you know what? I really need answers to these questions. I have more questions. I have more questions about, what is this spiritual stuff that people are talking about? I want to find out more about it. I want to ask my own questions. I want to deep dive into what this is about and what that is about. I want to know for myself so that I can compare what beliefs resonate with me. I had to make choices based on what felt right for me and not what other people expected me to believe. So that is a sign of a spiritual awakening, just feeling disillusioned with your old life. Like all of a sudden, it's not resonating with you anymore. Also, a heightened intuition or emotional sensitivity. So feeling more emotionally tuned in, just more sensitive, more affected by the people or situations around you. Your senses are more heightened. Your sense of smell, your sense of touch, everything. Again, it goes back to your body and almost like new DNA being unlocked. You're not just waking up. You're remembering who you really are and what you're really capable of. Your body, your vessel is also aligning and waking up as well. Your gifts are coming online. All of a sudden, you may start getting flashbacks or vivid dreams or messages that seem to come out of nowhere. You might start seeing things you didn't used to see. Your real senses are being awakened. Again, I've mentioned this, but this happens to me where I will get a random childhood memory flashback out of nowhere. And this only started happening the last few years. Just these random like, wow, that was a blocked memory that I didn't even remember existed until I got this weird flashback when I'm doing something mundane. Just all of these little signs, these little things that things are getting unlocked inside of you. Another sign is just having a desire for more meaning and more purpose. Like you're no longer satisfied with the status quo. You're not satisfied with the mundane, just going about the day to day or living this life that everybody around you is living. You feel this draw to ask deeper questions, to really find out the purpose and the meaning of life and how things work. And you just know that there's more to life than what is on the surface. And maybe people around you just aren't feeling that like you are. Definitely you are at the beginning of a spiritual awakening, feeling like you're craving more depth out of life. You don't want to go through the motions or live in the matrix. You feel called to ask the questions and dive deep into the meaning and universal truths of life. Also pulling away from certain relationships or habits, feeling like you've outgrown people, you've outgrown situations, like you're not on the same page anymore. You're really growing. You're trying to become something. You're evolving, and the people around you are just not joining you on that journey, or they want to stay where they are. They don't want to grow. And that's okay. And that happens to all of us. We outgrow friendships. We are no longer aligned with the same people we used to be aligned with. And it's hard when it's a close relationship. Sometimes it's just a friend or whatever. But that becoming misaligned with other people is a sign that you're growing. Craving solitude or nature, like your soul knows it needs quiet, peace and quiet to reflect, to grow, to transmute. Your mind needs quiet time to think and to meditate what's going on inside your body. If you find yourself needing more solitude than normal, that could be a sign. Also, synchronicities, feeling guided, feeling nudged, feeling like a gut feeling, like I don't know why, but I just feel like I need to do this. I don't know why, but I just feel like, I don't know, this thing. As your gifts come online and those your frequency is rising, the veil is thinning. So you're becoming more connected to the universe. So you're going to get more of those signs and synchronicities. You're going to get more communication. You're going to hear your higher self or feel guided or communicated with from your higher self because you're accessing the other side easier. The more you pay attention or follow your intuition and this guidance, the stronger it will get. Again, it's like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger that will get. And then also just feeling like you're crazy. A spiritual awakening is messy. It's a complete transition. Again, whether it's fast or slow, no matter what it looks like for you, you're changing. You're shifting from the inside out. Your beliefs, your energetic makeup, your relationships, how you show up in the world, everything is changing, which means the people around you, again, may not align with you anymore. The world that you've designed around yourself, now it feels like you're completely out of place. You're a black sheep where you used to feel like you fit right in. You're not crazy. You're just waking up. It's like you were a sheep in a herd, and then all of a sudden you realized you're a zebra. And you're looking around like, wait a minute. I don't belong here. Something is off. I am not like the others. Now what? Where do I go? How do I get to where I'm supposed to be? Side note, if you're a parent, there is a book called The Ugly Pumpkin, and it's this whole idea. It's one of my favorite kids' books, but it's this whole idea of this ugly pumpkin who is not getting picked from the pumpkin patch, and he's trying to figure out where he fits, and everybody's being mean to him and calling him out because he's different, and he just feels so, he can't catch a break, only to find out at the end of a book that he's a squash and he finds a squash family and everything starts to make sense, right? So it's kind of like that. Like if all of a sudden one day you look around and you're like, this doesn't work anymore. These people don't make sense for me. This job doesn't make sense for me. My life, it doesn't feel like it works anymore. That is a big sign you are shifting, and maybe you've even shifted a little bit quicker than your environment has been able to catch up with you. So look out for that. And then there's different stages of awakening too, right? And this is not set in stone. It could look like different things for anybody, but just to kind of put it into something easier to digest for you, I'm going to label 5 stages of awakening that you might move through. The first is the wake-up call. The second is the purge, like the shedding of old beliefs. The third is the void, the dark night. So once you've shedded all your beliefs, feeling like, oh my God, what now? The fourth being the rebuilding process, like building these new habits, these new relationships, and 5 being the embodiment of actually putting all of those things together. So walking through that, whatever stage you might relate to the most, the wake-up call is like the first steps of just asking questions, realizing that, there's more to the physical world, whether it's the spiritual world or the dream realm, energy work, meditation, communicating with loved ones, like whether it's one quick wake up moment or just a slow shift of asking questions. That first step is just realizing how much is happening in the unseen, how much more there is to life, to the universe, how vast the universe is, and how many questions you have to things that you don't understand. Just having that initial, wait a minute, if this is true, what else am I missing? That the wake up call. Two being the purge, the shedding, like after you have the wake up call, shedding the old beliefs, shedding your old identities, your old relationships, recognizing what no longer fits you, letting go of what's no longer aligned with you. That is a really painful thing to do, especially when it comes to relationships, right? Letting go of friends or partners that you're no longer aligned with and your relationship doesn't quite work the same anymore. I'm not saying it has to always be like that, right? You can have different beliefs than somebody. It's not about what you believe. It's about your energy. A really high frequency person has a hard time being around a really low frequency person and vice versa, right? Just their frequencies don't match. The radio is not tuned to the same station. Their lives look different. They approach things differently. So that's a really hard one. And I think a lot of people get hung up on that part because they want to change, they want to evolve, but they are scared to change their life around them. They're scared to let go of old relationships. They're scared to leave a job. They're scared to move cities. They're scared of change. And what you need to know is that change is difficult, it's messy, but you cannot get to where you need to be without walking through the mess a little bit, right? It's like being terrified to fly, but your dream is to go to Paris. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to do the scary thing and get on the plane in order to have the dream that you really want to have on the other side. You have to face the fear and do the hard stuff to get the reward. The third step, again, a lot of people really start to question things when they get here. This void, this dark night of the soul, right? This feeling of now you're feeling lost, empty, or disconnected because maybe you did let go. Maybe you did change things. Maybe all of a sudden, maybe you were religious and now you've changed all your beliefs, even just internally. But now you're like, well, crap, where do I go from here? What's happening? I feel lost, directionless. I'm not sure where I fit in or who I fit in with. This is really common because after leaving behind either physically or just energetically what you no longer align with, it's not always an immediate jump to the next step. There's a lot of searching, confusion, messiness as you deal with the fallout of that purge. And it's important to know that this step exists because sometimes when things feel hard or we feel lost, we feel directionless, we might assume that that means that the steps we're taking were wrong. Like, oh, I ended this relationship and now I don't feel good. Or I moved cities and now I'm panicking. I don't feel good. It doesn't necessarily mean that that was the wrong step or that that was the wrong thing to do. It just means you're uncomfortable. You made a change and you haven't yet settled into the next step. You're uncomfortable and you're maybe directionless. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's important to know that it may feel this way for a while before you find your footing. You purged and now you're floating for a little bit while you figure out your next steps. This can take years, right? I would say even myself, I'm probably in between step 3 and 4 where I'm letting go of all this stuff, but I'm not quite settled into the rebuilding. I'm not quite settled into really establishing all the pillars, all of the footholds of the next step. I'm still kind of in between. I'm figuring it out. It can be a long process. Step 4, the rebuilding, is like reconnecting with your soul, reconnecting with the universe, learning spiritual tools, uncovering your gifts. A spiritual awakening is not a religion. So there's no book, there's no rules to follow. This part of building up your new identity or building up where you're going, it's completely customized to you and who you are in your soul. And what your soul contract or your soul plan is, your relationship with spirit, it's completely unique to you. It's a path of awakening to who you really are, why you are here, and what feels true and aligned for you. And that takes time. Take time to wander a little bit. Take time to see what fits, what doesn't fit. What do you like? What do you not like? See what speaks to you. What teachers feel like they resonate with your soul? What information feels like it lights up something in you? What gifts do you feel like you hold most strongly? What tools do you feel like you really, resonate with? Whether it's just meditating or maybe you really are gravitated towards something like tarot or a physical tool like that. All of these things are your energetic clues back home to yourself. It's a path of remembering and rediscovering who you are and what you're here to do. And slowly, as you do this, you will uncover your gifts and you will uncover your direction, you will uncover your people and your light. So all of these new stair steps that you're kind of climbing, it's a slow process, but it's part of that spiritual awakening, is that rebuilding process after you have kind of had a tower moment, right, of the purging. And then step 5, which is the ideal, is just embodying it, actually living from that deeper alignment. And we kind of all have moments of this, right? Moments where we're really embodying our truth, where we're really embodying that alignment and we feel like everything is just the way it's supposed to be and we feel at peace and we feel content. And then we have moments where we're completely off track. So I don't think it's necessarily all or nothing, but it's what we're reaching for, becoming the person who feels aligned and joy-filled, not because your life is perfect, but because you just feel completely at home within yourself. You feel confident in who you are and why you're here. And that's a freedom you cannot find anywhere except within yourself. Okay, so it's not about perfection. It's not about being constantly blissful. It's not about avoiding reality. It's not a trend. It's not an aesthetic. It's not linear. It's not a one and done thing. It's messy. It's complicated. It's a process. And everybody's path will look different. And there is absolutely no problem with that. So you may have kind of related more so to one of those steps and maybe where you are in this process. But regardless of where you are, we're all learning. It's always a learning curve. We're always growing. There is no finish line where we just stop and go, okay, I made it. I'm done now. It's always evolving. And as you walk down this path, your identity will start shifting out of your ego and into your soul, into your true self, and your life will start to hold more meaning and more values, and your choices will become more clear. But again, don't expect it to happen overnight. It's a practice. You practice it, and it becomes clearer. It becomes more evident. Now you're creating instead of just surviving. And if you're here listening to this, it's not coincidental. You are being guided to show up in your truth, in your gifts for a reason. You are here for a reason. Your soul has led you here to hear this message, to be encouraged or inspired, or maybe just told you something that you needed to hear. Maybe just to tell you to keep going, to keep growing, to keep tapping in. Don't give up. The higher the frequencies shift and the more people wake up, the more you will feel grounded into your true self. Again, it is a chaotic, volatile time on earth. This is not for the weak. Being on earth right now is not for the weak. It's never for the weak, but it's definitely not for the weak right now. And a big kudos to you just for being here, for wanting to evolve, for wanting to do the work. I have so much respect for you just because you are clearly somebody who wants to do the work and who are serious. And already that tells me that you have a maturity beyond what people around you probably do, because it's hard and it takes a lot of maturity to say, I want to do the work. I want to become a better person, and then actually take steps to do that. So I'm proud of you wherever you are. But that is going to be it for today's podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a review. Again, it really helps to get the word out there about the podcast. It tells the platform that, hey, this is worth listening to. She's got something to say. Other people might want to hear it. So I appreciate that so very much. Again, my email is daremetoprosper@gmail.com. If you would like to take the opportunity, completely free of charge, to ask questions that I can help channel answers for you, go ahead and send me, again, your name, a bit about you, and 2 or 3 questions. And I look forward to working with you and communicating with you guys. And until next time, thank you for listening to Dare Me to Prosper.